Now, in the 1960s, pirate radio changed the face of broadcasting. It was revolutionary for playing continuous music and launched the careers of Tony Blackburn, John Peel and Kenny Everett.
50 years ago today, though, pirate radio stations became illegal and they were forced to close down. At breakfast, Tim Muffett joins us from a mock pirate ship in Essex. There it is, and somewhere on board is Mr. Muffett.
Yes, good morning to you, sir. Now, if you've ever seen the 2009 film, The Boat That Rocked, this might look a little bit familiar. This is the LV-18, a light vessel, and it was used in the making of that film. It's all about pirate radio, the impact those broadcasters had. They went out to sea and they broadcast pop music onto the land to circumvent the laws that were in place. There was hardly any pop music broadcast there at all. And as you can see, today it's been commandeered by BBC Essex. They will be broadcasting alongside Radio Caroline, which still exists, and a bit of broadcasting history. So as we have a look around this ship, and we're going to have a quick chat to a man who knows all about what it was like to be at sea in those days, Alan Turner, broadcaster, DJ.
Hi.
Thanks ever so much for joining us. What was it like being at sea on Radio Caroline?
Fantastic. For a 24-year-old to be on a ship in the North Sea playing records all day long, fantastic job.
How important is it that this law is commemorated? Because it was sought to outlaw pirates, didn't it?
Yes, it wasn't illegal what we were doing, but the British government just didn't like, the fact that they weren't in control. And so the Marine Offences Bill came into force 50 years ago, and that's what we're marking today.
And you're going to be broadcasting with Radio Caroline. That's
Yes,
a bit of history.
The tie-up with Radio Caroline, which is anchored down in the River Blackwater, just down the coast from us, and the BBC are going to rebroadcast Radio Caroline's programmes.
Wow, it's going to be a bit of history, as you say, Alan. I'll let you carry on with your preparation.
Yes, thanks.
It's a fascinating part. A little later on this morning, we're going to be talking to Johnnie Walker, of course, who was a very famous pirate DJ, and now, of course, on Radio 2 as well. But yes, as I say, pirate radio 50 years on. They tried to outlaw it. It did carry on a little bit longer. Radio Caroline kept on at sea until about 1990. More details all about that a little later on this morning.
I remember that. Tim, thank you very much. And Johnnie Walker Meets Pirates is on BBC Radio 2 tonight at 10 o'clock if you want more information.
Should we take you back to a shot of our ship? Have a look at this. It's
a lovely ship.
We'll hand off to our newsrooms across the UK with a shot from I believe it's the Store estuary, is that right? Anyway, I'll tell you that it is, and hopefully it will be. There it is in the background. Beautiful shot this morning, and we'll see you with the national headlines in just a few minutes' time.
Now, in the 1960s, pirate radio changed the face of broadcasting. It was revolutionary for playing continuous music and launched the careers of the likes of Tony Blackburn, John Peel and Kenny Everett.
But half a century ago today, pirate radio stations were illegal and they were forced to close down. Breakfast Tim Muffett is on a mock pirate ship. Are there any real pirate ships these days? Well, I suppose there are. But he's in Essex. I've now got myself in a horrible hole. Tim, would you like to fill the void? Thank you.
Yeah, good morning to you. Well, it's a beautiful morning, that we can agree for sure. We're in Harwich this morning. This boat may look a bit familiar if you saw the 2009 film, The Boat That Rocked, which is all about pirate radio, because this ship featured on it, the LV-18. It's a former light ship, and it was on boats like this that pirate DJs broadcast pop music from the sea to the land in the 60s to circumvent the strict rules which were in place at the time. But 50 years ago today, things changed. The Marine Offences Act came into force. The idea was to stop the pirates. It didn't quite have the effect it was intended to.
I remember going out from Harwich and seeing this little boat floating around, and I thought, this is going to alter the whole of broadcasting in this country.
Tony Blackburn's prediction was right. In the early 60s, the BBC played hardly any pop. Commercial radio was banned. By broadcasting from international waters, pirate stations like Caroline, Radio London and swinging Radio England exploited a loophole.
We were 3.5 miles off the coast of Frinton. We flew under the Panamanian flag. Now, if anybody went on that boat from this country, it was like declaring war on Panama.
This was Radio Caroline's London HQ, where Tony Blackburn had his first audition.
Did you have any sense of what a big deal this was going to be for you and for pop culture?
Yes, I did, yeah. I really thought that this was going to be the start of something very big.
Good morning, everyone. Tony Blackburn here with you, feeling a little under the weather this morning. We've got about an 8-force gale out there.
Keep on
Broadcasting pop music from ships like this out at sea, the pirate stations were very popular. But on land, they weren't just winning over millions of fans, they also faced a powerful enemy, the government.
The pirates are a menace, and I don't believe at all that the public wouldn't support action to enforce the law.
At midnight on the 14th of August 1967, the Marine Offences Act became law. It was now illegal for British citizens to work on the ships or to supply them. Johnnie Walker had recently joined Caroline.
Tony, look at that. You look so young.
Haven't changed, have I?
There were fun times.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were those in the government that really liked the fact there were pirates on the air, and certainly the young people and their families all loved it. It bridged all generations and all social classes.
Many pirate stations packed up, but Caroline continued broadcasting from the sea until 1990. It anchored further into international waters to avoid UK regulations. This ship, the Ross Revenge, was its studio throughout the 80s.
This is Caroline in the afternoon.
It's recently returned to the water.
What we wanted to do is return the ship to a useful broadcasting purpose, because while we dine out on our nostalgia, which is our selling point, we also want to now look to the future.
This is Radio Caroline, the sound of the Who.
Having been streamed online since the late 90s, the station's just been granted a new AM broadcast licence. 50 years after the law that tried to ban them, Britain's pop pirates are back on the water.
And this morning we're about 40 miles from the Ross Revenge because BBC Essex have commandeered this ship. They're about to go on air and to celebrate those 50 years since pirate radio was outlawed. Johnnie Walker, I'm privileged to see you once more on board the ship. You're going to be broadcasting from here, aren't you? What's it like to be marking this anniversary?
Well, in a way, it's a sad day, but 50 years ago on this day, right now, I'd have been at Liverpool Street Station, thousands of people there, saw us off. Radio London, along with about half a dozen other pirate stations, were all going to close down that afternoon. So that was very sad for millions of people who came to rely on those stations for all the music they wanted to hear any time of day or night. And then myself and just a couple of other DJs decided we'd stay with Radio Caroline and defy the government at midnight. To an estimated audience. It was scary, actually, truth be told. They reckon about 22 million people were listening all over Europe. Would Radio Caroline actually be brave enough to defy the British government? So we're kind of celebrating that Radio Caroline and a few DJs took a stand.
It's a weird one because in a way it was designed to kind of inspire commercial radio, but the result of pirate radio was Radio 1, wasn't it? Which went on air in 1967 as well, the BBC's kind of station.
Yeah, and in New Zealand, they were inspired by what Radio Caroline did, and they started their own radio station on a ship. And the New Zealand government allowed them to come on shore and gave them a license to broadcast as a commercial radio station. So that really is what we wanted, what we hoped might happen in the UK, but it didn't, unfortunately. So Caroline managed to keep going from August the 14th through until about March 68, when basically the money ran out, the bills weren't paid, and that was the end of the station. But it's back. I mean, there's a ship with Radio Caroline on now that you can hear on the internet. It's never really gone away.
We just saw that, yeah. And finally, what was it like to be a DJ on a ship with millions of people listening?
It was the most fantastic feeling. We would often be sick on the journey from here, Harwich, an hour and a half to get to the boat. But once you're on the boat, just the energy of that broadcasting and knowing all those millions of people who were tuned in and just loving the music you played and the freedom the DJs have to pretty much say and play whatever they wanted to play. They were really halcyon days. Hence, we celebrate 50 years on.
Great. What time are you on air today?
1:30.
OK.
Yeah.
Great. We'll be listening in. Johnnie, thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Tim.
There's going to be an historical tie-up between BBC Essex, who commandeered this ship, and Radio Caroline as well, who are about 40 miles down the coast as well. So a bit of broadcasting history for you today from Harwich. I'll leave you with a lovely shot of the boat we are stood on this morning, the LV-18 lightship moored off Harwich.
It's fantastic. Thank you very much.